Welcome back to my channel, where I like to review, recommend, and research books, mostly historical fiction, a little bit of nonfiction, and true crime. So if you're a nosy person just like me, definitely subscribe to my channel. Okay, so today I want to recommend several books that you need to add to your TBR list for spooky season, if you will. These books are from all different genres: historical fiction, nonfiction, true crime. We have a mixture of murder, mystery, ghosts, witches, all different types of things. So if that sounds up your alley, definitely stay and watch this video. All right, we're gonna start off on a kind of an interesting kind of book. It is a mixture of historical fiction, thriller, psychological, and it also has monsters in it. Between Two Fires by Christopher Bullman. So this book takes place during medieval times during the Black Plague, where a girl, or an orphan I should say, a priest, and a knight join forces to get through Europe to fight heaven and hell together. And on their journey, they encounter several different types of monsters, ghosts, things like that. Typically, those kind of books are not up my alley, but I found this book very, very interesting. I'm not into the whole monsters types of things, but this book was actually quite entertaining, very fast-paced. Definitely recommend it. Now this next book, I can't stop thinking about. I have recommended this book to so many people. It is definitely one of my top reads of 2025. The Mercies. This is about the Norway witch trials. This book is based off of a true event. I have actually already posted a video that dives deeper into this book about the whole Norway witch trial thing, which there's so much that happened during this time and how much of this book really stays true to fact. I found this book very fast-paced. I absolutely love it. This has a mix of betrayal, redemption, love. It is just such an incredible book. So this book takes place on an island right off the northeastern tip of Norway, almost right to Russia. Now this island, the population was probably about 80 people at the time. Now, all of the men were out on ships, doing their jobs, and then a huge storm came through and completely wiped them out. So the male population on this island was gone. So now the women were left to fend for themselves, to figure things out themselves. Unfortunately, this left them very vulnerable for other people to come in and, guess you could say, to save them, if you will. This was during the time where witch trials were running rampant all throughout the world. People were being executed left and right. And these women were perfect target for them. And boy, oh boy, did these women betray each other. It is such a good book. And it is actually told by two different perspectives. One of them is the woman that actually lives on the island, and the second one is actually the commissioner's wife. The commissioner was a man that was sent to sniff out the witches in this village. Highly recommend this book, obviously. Now the next book, it's another witch book. Wayward. This book has become very, very popular. It is a triple storyline, a mix of witch trials, World War II-ish era, and recent. This follows three different women, and they are somehow interconnected with each other. One of the perspectives, one of the women, did she murder someone, or is she innocent? Another perspective is a young woman who finds herself in the family way and is completely kicked to the side by her family, but she stands up to them. And then the third perspective is a woman that is leaving her very abusive relationship. So all these women somehow mix together. I really did enjoy this book, and I can see why it's popular. Now this next book is a little bit different, but it kind of gives me that eerie feeling. The Orphan Collector. This is by Ella Marie Wiseman, and I honestly do not like majority of her books, but this book I absolutely loved. And I know several other people that love this book as well. So this is based in the early 1900s during the Spanish flu breakout in the northeastern USA. And this little girl unfortunately becomes an orphan along with her two younger siblings, and she is left to care for them by herself. That's until authorities found out that they were living by themselves, and all hell breaks loose for this poor little girl. This is a great read. It is a hard read, but I absolutely love this book. Now I'm going to talk about The Nurse's Secret. This book is a great way to get your feet wet in historical fiction. It is historical fiction mixed with murder mystery. This takes place in the late 1880s in New York, and it's about a woman who lives her life on the streets. And unfortunately, she's at the wrong place at the wrong time during a murder, and she is accused of the murder. She decides to run away, and she thought the best way to run away would be hide in plain sight by joining the nursing team. As she's in school, she's also playing detective as well to solve that murder as well that she has been accused of. This is a fantastic book, a very fast pace, and I would say, even though it's a murder mystery, it is a lighthearted book, in my opinion. So this is a great book to really recommend to anyone. Now, this next book is definitely a psychological book. Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. This book is one of those that makes you think after you read it and makes you really test your beliefs. This is about the last woman that was executed in Iceland, so based off of a true person, Agnes Magnusdóttir. She was accused of a double homicide along with 2 other co-conspirators, and when she is sentenced to death, she, just like today, she was not immediately sent to her death. So she had to spend her last few months alive with a family, a Christian family, because they were afraid for her soul and they wanted her to be saved before she is executed. So this follows several different perspectives, obviously, of the woman, Agnes, the priest that is assigned to her to try to help her soul get into heaven, to try to help her come closer to God before she is executed, and the family that she lives with. And of course, they are not happy to house her during this time. But over time, you start to figure things out, and then you really, really start to question, is her ending deserved? I absolutely love this book. It is not for everyone. It is a slow burn, but fantastic. Now, this next book is actually based off of a serial killer. Before We Were Yours. This is based off of the serial killer Georgia Tann. She worked at the Tennessee Children's Home Society, and she is responsible for the murder of, unfortunately, several children. This book specifically follows a group of siblings that were left to their own devices after their parents had to leave, and they are found abandoned pretty much. And so they are taken into the orphanage, and boy, oh boy, do things get really, really bad for them. This is a hard one to read, but like I said, it is based off of a true person. So if you kind of like the whole based off of somebody, off of a true psychopath, this is a good book to read. Now, this next book, it is a World War II book, but it's not one of those cliche World War II books. This is also actually part of a series. I've not finished the series, but I really enjoyed this book. Lilac Girls. Like I said, this book is a World War II book, but it is also based off of some very evil women at Ravensbrück. And unfortunately, this book follows several different women that become very close as friends, like sisters, and they are experimented on at Ravensbrück. This is a very, very hard and disturbing read. I mean, a lot of World War II books are, but this one, you can tell the author did a lot of research into this, and this one hits heavy for sure. Now, I also want to recommend a couple of books that are kind of different. They are definitely nonfiction, but I enjoyed these reads. So the first one's going to be Written in Bone by Sue Black. So Sue Black, I have watched many documentaries with her in it. She is a forensic anthropologist. She is so smart and so funny, and I can just hear her voice reading me this book. So if you've never watched a Sue Black documentary, definitely find one. And then you will love this book. This book is definitely a different type of book. It's about her going kind of from head to toe on the body, just about like what she has seen in her time, you know, as being a forensic anthropologist. Like, what are the signs you're looking for? What could this mean on this part of the body? So she kind of takes you step by step by step of like the body, I guess you could say, of what is the usual and unusual. So it's a very fascinating book, but it is very dry. It is nonfiction, but I enjoyed this book. Now, this next one, I actually follow her on TikTok, and she is absolutely hilarious. This is Dr. Susie's book, Mortal Monarchs. Now, this is just years and years of deaths of monarchs, and I just think it very, very fascinating. There's obviously a lot of deaths in here, so if you're ever curious about a monarch's death, definitely get this book. Okay, now I actually finally want to get into true crime. So I'm gonna start with a book that I actually read years ago, but I still love it, if you tell. This book is very, very, very slow, but that's kind of the point, because the serial killer in this, she did not kill her victims just outright. She killed them over time. She was a woman that preyed on the innocent people, brought them into her home, and then eventually started taking things away from them one by one until they eventually die. And this book, the author did not leave out any details. This is an incredible story. This is definitely one of those psychological, slow burn type of books where you're constantly thinking, you want to sit there and you get so mad at the story too, because you're just like, how could this even happen? But I absolutely love this book. Now, this next book is probably my favorite true crime. Killers of Flower Moon. What I love about this book the most is that the author took additional steps even after the story was technically over, if you will. This is about the Osage Indians in Oklahoma that were being murdered left and right in the early 20th century. And this is also in the birth of, just like the title says, of the FBI. So first the Texas Rangers were sent out to figure out what is going on here, and then the FBI finally got involved. And the FBI at the time was really only investigating like robberies here and there. There wasn't really a whole lot that the FBI was doing. So this was the first time the FBI could finally get their feet wet to launch a huge investigation into murder. So the Texas Rangers, FBI, everybody's investigating this, and it basically comes down to a lot of the Osage Indians became very, very wealthy, but they also got their rights taken away and they had to marry somebody that was white, and then eventually everything was taken from them. But what I loved about this book the most is that even though they caught the bad guy, everything, but the author took it one step further and continued to investigate, because it turns out the story was not over. And boy, oh boy, does the author find even more things about this whole thing. It is absolutely insane how many things were missed, and it just really makes you think even more. I absolutely love this book. So this next book has to be the most frustrating book that I've ever read. The Lost Boy Found. Now this book, if you've ever watched the movie The Changeling, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, this book really kind of feels that way as well. So this is based off of a true story where a pretty wealthy family, they're on vacation, whatever, and their son goes missing. A few months later, the police are like, hey, we found your son. Turns out it's not their son. But plot twist, unlike The Changeling, the mother actually accepts it as her son, even knowing that it's not her son. But the mother of that boy has been looking for him forever, and finally finds out where he's at, and even takes this family to court, and she loses. And everybody knew that this boy was her boy and not the rich family's boy. It's very frustrating to read. I know that's kind of a spoiler, but like I said, it's a whole lot like The Changeling, but a plot twist to it. Very frustrating read. Now this next one is a classic in true crime, In Cold Blood. I'll be honest with you, I did not actually read this until like a few months ago, and I actually grew up in Kansas, so I will say this book is a little bit slow, for sure, but you can tell the author did a ton of research and really connected the dots and everything. I will say at the beginning you're a little bit lost because you're like, how does any of this connect? But eventually it gets there, and I actually really enjoyed this book. It's a slow burn, but it's very good. I want to recommend another David Grann book, The Wager. This one's different than probably all the other ones that I recommend. This is about a ship. This is about a ship that wrecks, and everybody on board goes to an island, Wager Island, and basically start killing each other to survive. But the survivors make it back home to England, and it's whoever can tell their story first is innocent. So this is about finding the truth in all of their stories and figure out what exactly happened on Wager Island after the ship crashed. This book is actually pretty fast-paced, and I like that the author also added photos and things like that into it, so I really like David Grann, as you can see. So those are my spooky recommendations for you guys. Like I said, it's a mix of historical fiction, nonfiction, true crime, fantasy, thriller, psychological. It has all different types in there. But I think what I like most about these books is the psychological behind it, of just like what makes people do these things. I like it when books make me think, make me change my mind, make me question my morals, if you will. But I find all of these books very entertaining. I have enjoyed them. Let me know if you've ever read any of these books and what your thoughts are on them in the comments below. And if you have any recommendations of similar books, definitely comment those as well.